It's time for the Texas Perspective on current news and events. A man who calls it like he sees it, without the normal political correctness you may have grown comfortable with. This show is not for the faint of heart or easily offended. Chances are you will learn something and along the way get to hear some great music from bands you may have missed. The doctor is in, and he will see you now.
Well, I guess we better get on with it.
Well, good morning. It's Saturday. We're going to have a great show today on the Saturday show. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. One of the things we want to talk about is the new movie called Plague of Corruption. It's also a best-selling book on Amazon, and let me tell you what, the globalists are really excited about this. Well, is excited the word, or scared spitless would be more like it? Rolling Stone wrote about it. They said that Judy Mikovits, disgraced doctor at the center of pandemic, has a best-selling book on Amazon. Well, the video, Plague of Corruption, was also posted to BitChute, and BitChute, which claims to support creators of all types, immediately took the video down, saying, "This is a truth we don't want anyone to know." Once again, I have to remind you that if you perchance took the jab, your chances of dying from cancer went up by 1,600%. If perchance you took the jab and they told you, they said, if you take this, you will not get COVID, that was a lie, wasn't it? As it turned out, the people that took the jab, and I have a couple of personal friends that did, they get COVID several times a year. But it's a very mild form. Of course, it killed my brother. My brother immediately developed myocarditis after taking the jab, and he died shortly thereafter, about 6 months. That's good because some people have died within hours of taking it, and others it's taken 2 or 3 years to die. But the truth is, everyone that took the COVID thing, they're going to die within the next 2 years or so. They'll mostly die of cancer. Some of them will die of heart inflammation. Others will die of blood clots. But the truth is not getting out there, and that's why we're doing it here on Freedom 1300, because I'm going to tell you the truth no matter what. One of the things that they're not telling you is that the children that get vaccinated, and not the co-vax, but other vaccinations, they've finally done an actual study on that, and they determined that vaccinated children have far more health issues than unvaccinated children. In fact, they've determined that unvaccinated children have almost no health issues at all. Unvaccinated children that are raised in rural environments around animals, farmers, ranchers, things that we know a lot about here in Texas, turns out that those children are the healthiest children of all. Because when you expose your immune system to the various different biogens that are out there, it results in a stronger immune system. I would refer you to George Carlin on that. I would remind you to watch out for the language. I did it on my show one time. It's a 7-minute bit, and it took me 2 hours to eliminate certain words and phrases that he used in order to get to the substance of the matter. But George Carlin was right. He said, we didn't need all these vaccines. We didn't have all of these problems because we were around bad stuff all the time. And so consequently, our immune systems were very, very strong. Well, anyway, I encourage all of you to find a copy of the movie Plandemic and find a copy of the movie Plague of Corruption. Bill Bigtree is a great man. He's the one that did Plandemic. And he's also the guy that finally got a real doctor to do an investigation on which vaccines worked and which ones didn't. And that's where they found out the terrible news that vaccines generally contribute to the declination of vaccinated children in their health rather than helping them. So this is what we're up against. The mainstream media out there, and that would be any of the TVs, that would be ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSDNC, NPR, and what else? What am I leaving out? Anyway, did I get MSDNC? Anyway, the point is, any of the major media out there will not tell you the truth under any circumstances. Don't forget They're the ones that told you that if you took the vaccine, you would not get COVID. Yes, they did tell you that. I don't know about you, but if I got my dog a rabies vaccine and then my dog got rabies, I think I would be outraged. At the very least, I would have some very serious questions. So we've got that going for us. They're also the ones that told you that Donald Trump was a Russian spy. And of course, that turned out not only not to be true, but that turned out to be something that was created between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. So don't forget Glenn P. Simpson at Fusion GPS. Yes, they did all of that, and James Comey dutifully reported it to make sure that you knew that Donald Trump was a criminal that should never be elected president. They also told you that if Donald Trump was elected president, he would destroy the economy. Have you guys bought gas lately? Because I bought gas yesterday, and I paid $1.50 a gallon. Now, I have to tell you, that was at Kroger, and I had some Kroger points. But if I hadn't had those points, it would have been $2.11 again. So that's great. Now, we're here in Texas. If you're watching this from another state, then you may not have that same experience. But nonetheless, like my friends Dave and Judy, or my friends Randall and Judy, or my friends Jim and Jackie, you guys will probably have different experiences with that. Oh, hello, Duck Do, by the way. We really appreciate you watching the show on a regular basis. But nonetheless, I'm encouraging you to find the film Plandemic. I'm encouraging you to find the film A Plague of Corruption and watch those and share them with your friends. And it's not going to be easy because the left is doing their best to protect Dr. Fauci. They're doing their best to make sure that you destroy your children's lives because these people belong to the Saturn Death cult. You can look that up. But these people actually believe that the world population should not exceed 500 million people. The world population should not exceed 500 million people. So that's what they're pushing us towards, my friends. But anyway, we're going to have some more fun stuff today on the show because it is a Saturday show. We try to have a little fun on the Saturday show, and it is the Christmas season, so we try to have a little fun with that as well. And now this.
It is colder than a mother-in-law's kiss. It's so cold my plumber pulled his pants up. This kind of cold will freeze the hinges right off the gates of hell. It's so cold the chickens are lining up to get in the oven. It's colder than a room full of ex-wives at a wedding. This kind of cold will freeze the balls off a pool table. It's so cold the thermostat gave me the middle finger. This kind of cold is meaner than a skillet full of rattlesnakes. It's cold enough to freeze the balls off a brass monkey. It's so cold the Statue of Liberty put the torch inside her dress.
Remember Black Lives Matter? Yeah, Patrisse Cullors. She was a hardcore communist, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter. She resigned in 2021 over accusations of misspending the group's donations on multi-million-dollar projects, including buying a mansion in Toronto, Canada, and 3 other very expensive mansions. Cullors is now joined by another prominent name from Black Lives Matter, Oklahoma City, 52-year-old Tashella Cherie Amore Dickerson. She was the executive director of Black Lives Matter, and she's been charged with wire fraud and money laundering. The United States Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma put out news releases on charges. Beginning in late spring 2020, Black Lives Matter raised funds to support its local social justice mission from online donors, as well as from national bail funds. In total, they raised more than $5.6 million. Yet, none of that money ever made its way to any other families. They never helped any of the black people. Most of those funds were routed through the Alliance for Global Justice, and according to the indictment, they're supposed to use these national bail funds to post pre-trial bail for individuals arrested in connection with protests for the racial justice after the death of career criminal George Floyd. As you recall, George Floyd was a career criminal who had never done anything of value to anyone. He once held a pregnant woman at gunpoint. Where did all that money go? Well, it apparently went to buying mansions and things like that, some in other countries. So despite what they said the money was being raised for, they used it for their own personal benefits. She used her bank account, Cash App, PayPal accounts, bought a new car, went on vacation in Jamaica and another vacation in the Dominican Republic, She spent tens of thousands of dollars retail shopping, including over $50,000 just on food and groceries, and she bought 6 properties. That's $3.15 million that Miss Dickerson received in donations from people who actually thought they were supporting her social justice cause. These are now the only allegations, but KWTV states that if found guilty, she faces up to 20 years in prison for each of these 20 counts of wire fraud, 10 years in prison for each of the 5 counts of money laundering. Let's face it, Black Lives Matter, if you ever read their actual mission statement, their mission statement was to destroy Western civilization and to destroy the family. That was their goal. And it seems that to accomplish these goals, this meant buying a lot of houses for their personal use, going on vacations and shopping sprees. Most of us recognize that it was a big scam to begin with, and all they were doing was fleecing the people. Question is, will they actually get any justice? Well, unfortunately, the judicial system is so absolutely corrupt and so filled with criminals, leftist Democrats. I don't see any way that she ever does any prison time. But nonetheless, at least she was charged, and for that, we are grateful. Got a lot of more for you right here on the Saturday show. Why are you not advertising here, by the way? I mean, all your friends are here. This is the place to be, my friends, and we're going to be right back with a lot of more.
Like the sounds of cannons on the horizon, please return with me to the amazing Doc Greene Show, because I like things that go kaboom.
Welcome back to the Saturday show. Thanks for sticking with me. Well, I recommended that you find the movie A Plague of Corruption, including Dr. Judy Mikovits, and watch it. But on the break, I looked everywhere using every search engine that I have available, and Yandex is probably one of the best. And that movie has been removed from every platform on the internet. Now, if it was really just full of lies, if it was really just full of obfuscations or foolishness, wouldn't they want you to see it so you could see how foolish she is? Or do you have to ask yourself this question? Why are they hiding this from me? Perhaps for the same reason they're not telling you that anyone who took the COVID vaccine has a 1,600% increased chance of contracting a cancer. And of course, that's been borne out in the military, where they required all the military people to get vaccinated. In the first year, they had a 1,600% increase in cancers. You would think a 1,600% increase would be notable. I mean, if you're an accountant, you see a 1% increase in something, you say, that's interesting. If you see a 2%, you say, oh, what's causing this? You see 10%, you say, oh my God, what is going on? So the old story was, well, what we want to do is we want to kill 100 million people and one big-breasted blonde. And the guy said, why do you want to kill the big-breasted blonde? And he said, see, nobody cares if you kill 100 million people. Well, that is the case that we have with the vaccine industry. There's a whole lot of money at stake, and people are willing to kill to protect that money. But nonetheless, I think it's very odd that this movie that a great deal of trouble was put into cannot be found anywhere on the internet. You can't even buy a copy of it on DVD right now. So if it's so horrible and it is so garbaged, why wouldn't they want you to be able to buy it so you could judge that for yourself? Well, I think you know the answer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's pray, because we live in a time of deception such as never been seen by the heart and eye of man. The Bible says that eye has never seen nor ear has never heard about the glories that God has prepared for them. But nonetheless, eye has never seen and ear has never heard because of the great deception that is out there. You're being lied to on every major platform. This is why I have been calling for all of the major broadcast entities, the big seven, to lose their broadcast licenses, because their charter requires them to operate in the interest of the American people, and they have clearly done that. They are clearly not doing that, They are operating in the interest of foreign governments, and they're trying to move us into a one-world globalist government under a benevolent dictator named Lucifer. And we have to stand up against this, but it's very, very difficult. Just doing this show is somewhat of a difficult experience on a daily basis, I can assure you. But nonetheless, we have to pray that somehow God can work through this. Now, in case you were wondering, this is not a religious show, this is a news show. I'm just bringing you the facts. But there's no question that the return of Yeshua, the mighty God in Christ, is imminent. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. There are lots of things going on around the world that I think indicate that. But the very fact that this deception is going on at this level, even with President Donald Trump, I think that should tell you something. Now, you guys know that I love words, and occasionally I do misstate some things, so I'd like you to take a look at Ellie Cordova as she presents to you the Errorist and the Grammarian.
Grammarian, we meet again. It's been pages since I've seen you last. We need to talk, Errorist. Well, then come in. Welcome to Misprint Manor, my humble lair. Red pen to base, I'm entering the clause. Malaprop? Yes, your erroneousness? Fetch our fastidious friend here a drink. She's no doubt parched from chasing stray commas down back galleys all day. What'll it be, Grammarian? Perhaps an espresso? It's espresso. Same difference, for all intensive purposes. Let's dispense with the unpleasantries, shall we? I'll have a negative, Malaprop, make it a double. Right away, my misleader. Now, what pedantry brings the great grammarian from the uppercase side to the red pen district, I wonder? Well, I've come to open a dialogue, and to try to understand you, Errorist. I see. Well, to understand an artist, one must know their work. Come, let me show you what I've been working on. Ah! Behold, the depossessor. It strips pronouns of their possessions. The results can be quite apostrophic. Diabolical. Ah, and here we have the Homophaser 9000. Careful, Grammarian. One blast from that and you won't know whose there is where and which way is through. What in subjunctive hellfire is that? That is my disaster piece. I call it the Babel Machine, a weapon of mass misconstruction. Tell me, Grammarian, have you ever seen a wild predicate dancing in the wind? No subject to tether it, just floating. How about a verb without tense? Free from the strictures of linear time. What are you doing? The world I'm building, Grammarian. It's beautiful, and you can be part of it. Step away from the Babel Machine, Errorist. With my genius and your power, together we would be unstoppable. I'm warning you, Errorist. Shut down that machine. Join me, Grammarian, and together we'll write a new kind of story. Press the button! Freeze! Grammar police, you're under arrest for crimes against language. Thanks, Grammarian. It's over, Errorist. They recorded the whole thing. You practically confessed to every word crime in the style guide. Deceit, Grammarian. How deliciously irregular. I'm sorry it had to end this way. End? Why, an ending is just a period, waiting to become an ellipsis. Ellipsis. That's the spirit. See you soon. Malaprop, don't forget to feed Typo. And take him for his evening run-ons!
I sincerely hope you enjoyed that, and it's a lot more fun if you actually go to my Rumble channel and watch it on Rumble, because we put it all there where you can really see the video that goes with this audio. But nonetheless, I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. Now this, as we've often said here, you can indict a ham sandwich. Well, you can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich for about anything, but if you happen to be in a district that includes the Washington District of Corruption suburbs, in that case, you can't even indict a ham sandwich for being a ham sandwich, if that ham sandwich happened to be a Democrat. For the second time in a week, New York attorney Tish James has somehow managed to escape being indicted for misleading banks to get better terms on a mortgage. The evidence is clear. It's obvious that she lied on these forms, and she lied repeatedly on these forms. But nonetheless, if you're a Democrat, this is called a resume enhancement. It is not actually a crime. So the Alexandria branch of the court has rejected those charges again after a grand jury in Norfolk, Virginia, also rejected the charges last week. The attorney of Tish James, Abby Lowell, he's also the lawyer that defended Hunter Biden on his cocaine charges and gun charges, celebrated his client's success at convincing other people that he didn't do it. This unprecedented rejection makes it even clearer that this case should not have seen the light of day. I mean, it's not like Donald Trump being a Russian spy or something like that. Career prosecutors who knew better refused to bring it because they were Democrats. And now two different grand juries in two different Democrat cities have refused to allow this Democrat to be charged with an obvious crime. The case should be rather straightforward. I mean, Miss James, who is the Attorney General of New York, purchased a home in Virginia and said it was her primary residence. Some people would say that was a lie. But for some reason, if you're Attorney General and you're a Democrat, it's not. But the reason for this dissimulation is pretty obvious. Primary residences get a better rate on mortgages than secondary ones. While we can argue all day about the extent to which Miss James profited from this, some say less than conservative pundits have been alleging. The potential savings could have been $19,000, and who's going to argue about $20,000, round numbers? I mean, no big deal. It's not like she went into the bank with a pistol and robbed them. Moreover, the mortgage in Virginia seemed to be part of a larger pattern in which she would continue to make statements on documents that were obviously not true to save herself some money. Perhaps more notably, these were bigger issues, relatively speaking, since she was Attorney General. On the other hand, she brought a case against Donald Trump for doing essentially the same thing. The only difference was Donald Trump didn't do it, and she did. So consider, too, this area where the second grand jury was convened, which is, of course, the District of Columbia, or the District of Corruption suburbs. There's no question. There's nobody but Democrats that live there. And while not all criminals are Democrats, all Democrats are criminals. So obviously this brings into mind sayings like Proverbs 18:5. It is not good to be partial to the wicked or deprive the righteous of justice. Kind of like trying to find that movie Plague of Corruption. Or if you want something newer than the Old Testament, let's go to Adam Smith, one of our founding fathers. He said, mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. Or remember the words of a prominent prosecutor when going after someone that seemed very, very guilty. I want to be clear, white-collar financial crime is not a victimless crime, the prosecutor said. Well, when the powerful break the law and take more than their fair share, there are fewer resources available for the rest of us, the working folks, small businesses, families, every day. Americans cannot lie to a bank about how much money they have in order to get a mortgage to buy a home. If they did, well, they would go to jail. Unless, of course, they're a Democrat who's an Attorney General of New York. amazing how one's tune changes with the times. What we have here is, of course, the District of Criminals defending another one of their own. And the more they interfere with justice, the less willing those of us that support liberty and justice intend to tolerate them. They're sowing the seeds of their own destruction. They're keeping two sets of books, a time-honored tradition among the gangbangers. But ladies and gentlemen, I will not accept it. I will continue to push for the right thing to be done. What do you think about all of this? Please leave your comments below if you're watching this on Rumble or perhaps YouTube. I'm very limited by what I can put up on YouTube. So go to rumble.com and subscribe to the Doc Greene Show there. It is free. Don't forget there's an E on the end of Greene. And, of course, the videos are also very entertaining.
And what do we do when we receive a call from an unknown number? Answer it and whisper, "It's done, but there's blood everywhere." No.
With the number of spam calls I'm getting these days, I think I'm going to do that on the next one. Meanwhile, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich predicted that Americans are going to feel the Trump boom by July 4th of next year. Now, in case you didn't know, anytime there's a major change in the economy of the United States, the lag time is between 2 and 3 years before you feel it. That's how Democrats are always able to say, yeah, we're the ones who are responsible for the good economy. And they're always able to blame Republicans for the bad economy that they left. For instance, during Otto Penn Biden's administration. Well, meanwhile, Donald Trump told supporters at a Pennsylvania rally on Tuesday that data and price trends show the economy is getting better and Americans are beginning to see relief in the cost of core household expenses. I have to remind you once again, I'm seeing gas now for $2.09 a gallon in some places. And if you reduce the cost of gasoline, that also reduces the cost of diesel, and that reduces the cost of just about everything you could ever buy in a store because it has to get to the store somehow, by truck or by car or by train, and all of these things use petroleum to make it to their destinations. So if you reduce the price of gas, you reduce the price of a box of macaroni and cheese. Anyway, this is where it's going. He said, I thought getting this big, beautiful bill through by July 4th matters, and I have a hunch that next spring, much like you saw at the stock market, all next spring, the American economy is going to recover. Things are going to get better. People are going to feel better. By July 4th of 2026, I believe people are going to feel really good because the choice will be decisive. Voters so far have not fully felt Donald Trump's domestic policy push because, well, they spent a month laser focused on foreign policy crises in the Middle East, Russia, Iran, and South Korea. I'd like to remind you that Donald Trump has now stopped 11 wars, yet he's not getting the Nobel Peace Prize. Anyway, what he did the other night in Pennsylvania, if you pay attention, you start talking about it, you start focusing on it, but remember, we had that full month where he was in the Middle East with Russia, Iran, South Korea. He's all over the place, demonstrating what a good foreign policy president does. He stressed that the biggest economic pain points are no longer groceries, but they're now health care, housing, and soaring insurance costs. I mean, one of the biggest problems is the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not federal, and they don't essentially have a reserve. We don't know. They've never been audited. But the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a European bank owned by 7 European families, now control the American economy as they have since 1913. Perhaps you'd like to get that book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Great book. It'll tell you the whole story. But the Federal Reserve Bank is a privately owned bank. There are no stockholders. It's all families in Europe, and they control the American economy. And they're refusing to lower interest rates because they are making money hand over fist right now. And they get a piece. I mean, if you buy a package of gum, they get a piece of the action. You buy a Coca-Cola, they get a piece of the action. That is what the Federal Reserve Bank does. And of course, JFK tried to get rid of the Federal Reserve Bank, you might recall. He was going to print greenback dollars. and that resulted in his early demise. But anyway, Gingrich went on to say, these are areas where Republicans have got to get their act together. We need transparency in health care. We almost could bring down the cost of health care overnight by allowing people to simply compare prices and quality like you do on everything else. I know guys that have done this on certain surgeries, and they've ended up getting surgeries for basically 1/3 the highest cost that was out there. So with gas prices lower, this is a good thing. The stronger than expected September jobs report highlights the improving economy, and it's no accident. This is the result of easing pressure on American energy, cutting runaway spending, and clearing government barriers for job creators. All I can say is, thank God Donald Trump was president. Can you imagine if Cammie had won this election, what things would really look like? Well, we are celebrating the Christmas season. According to Joy Reid, Jingle Bells is a very racist song, and because I am a racist, I want to include that right here.
Please return to the Doc Greene Show. This is Marvin the Martian. When you miss it, you make me very, very angry.
Thanks for sticking with me to the bitter end, because this is the third and final segment on the Saturday show right here on Freedom 1300 AM in Beaumont, Texas. Be sure to like and share with all your friends. And if you're watching this on Rumble, please leave your comments below. Duck Do always leaves his comments, but a number of my other friends that I know that watch this show and listen to it don't leave their comments. So I need your comments, because comments are like gold, and Duck Do feels all alone when you don't leave any comments. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Bible. It's pretty interesting. Two things that have happened recently. First of all, someone asked Grok, what religion in the world makes the most sense? I remember studying comparative religions when I was in Bible college, and it was interesting that Grok came up with Grok basically said this: the only religion that makes any sense is Christianity, because it is the only religion where all of the details made up and everything from the creation of the world to the plan of salvation all work. No other religion falls into that category. But somebody else said, well, what about the Bible? There are lots of errors in the Bible. So they had Grok look at that. And Grok came up and said, there are no apparent errors in the Bible. There's simply different points of view and similar events that happened at different times. No errors were found. But a lot of people say there are. One common complaint is specifically that if you look in some of the other translations, there are currently 17 fewer verses in modern translations than in the older ones. Some atheists, those who doubt the Christian faith, these differences are used to point out the errancy of the Bible, but the opposite is true. It shows there's not only remarkable transparency on the part of those who translate the good book, but the manuscripts are almost entirely consistent through the ages with very few minor differences. And I want to thank Douglas Golden, by the way, over at Western Journal, for having analyzed some of this for me. As Christian apologist West Huff noted in a recent social media thread, the issue comes with manuscripts that use the King James Version and the fact that verses were put into that version, not taken out of subsequent versions. A lot of people, when they see there are differences within the manuscripts, they panic. And they say, can I trust the Bible? Well, once again, Grok looked at all of this and determined that the Bible was very trustworthy, very transparent, and did not have any errors in it. And then you combine that with the fact that it says Christianity is the only religion that makes sense. You have to look at that, I believe. Now, I personally recommend that everyone read the Bible through at least once in your life. Tucker Carlson, for instance, started reading the Bible a couple or 3 years ago, and he determined that it absolutely changed his life. He said that once you read the Bible, you begin to recognize truth. And once you understand what truth is, you quickly recognize the lie. So, some people say, well, the Bible has changed. Well, once again, Grok went and looked at every version of the Bible going all the way back, including the Septuagint, and determined that it is perfectly credible and perfectly relatable, and no errors were found. So, when we know that there are some differences between translations, when you read a modern translation of the Bible and you see a citation note at the bottom of the page, that shouldn't panic. What you should do is give some confidence that we have such a glut of information that we're now able to pinpoint these things to a credible and exact level. He went on to note that chapter and verse numbers are not used in the original biblical text. Indeed, they were not. A man named Stephanus, also known as Robert Estienne, was the first to use these divisions in 1555, and modern chapter divisions began back in the 13th century. So that's a big deal. And there are explanations for these, ranging from variations in manuscripts to scribal errors. Once again, though, if you compare, for instance, if you get a Jewish Torah anywhere in the world in a regulation Jewish temple, they have determined that all of these Torahs are 99.99% perfect, down to the last jot and tittle. So, Matthew 18:11, quote one of the missing Bible verses, "Take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven, for the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost." And in the English Standard Version, "See to it that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven." The reason? Well, Matthew 18:11 was likely added from Luke 19:10, for the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost, as Huff notes, and it wasn't in any of the manuscripts until the 5th century. So it appears that a scribe, most likely familiar with the text of Luke, maybe even having spent a few months or years copying Luke and then making a copy of Matthew's Gospel, accidentally carried over a saying from Luke in a parallel passage in Matthew. This is a normal thing. It's not really an error. So since Luke's account also notes the same thing, and Dr. Luke, who was the Greek physician, got most of his information from the Apostle Peter. So indeed, because the volume of manuscripts that we have, we're able to do a reasonable amount of forensic analysis to discover the variations in the text. For the most part, these variations are entirely uncontroversial. One of the most famous examples is from John 5, verses 3 and 4. Modern translations leave out verse 4 entirely and have different versions of verse 3. So in the KJV, verses 3 and 4, "In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at the," and I add to this, the pool of Siloam, went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whatsoever then first after the troubling of the water stepped in was made whole of whatever disease he had. The English Standard Version, meanwhile, totally omits verse 4, which in these lay a multitude of invalids, blind, lame, and paralyzed. What's the reason for it? Again, it was likely an explainer or a commentary put into the Bible at a later date to explain the reason behind the pool of Bethesda. So, John refers to a number of people seeking healing here as a multitude, yet Jesus will only heal one of them at this time. This underscores an important truth in the Christian life. It's not primarily about the miracles. God used supernatural events to send a message or to further his will. True miracles, like the signs John records, are not common. They are not expected. This was true of the people of Jesus' day as it is today, nor is the gospel about physical health, though it does help. It's a matter of eternal life. And this verse leads to an interesting textual debate. Older and perhaps more reliable manuscripts do not contain the words of John 5:4. The text is usually associated with that verse that explains the reason for the crowd of invalids' miraculous healing. According to the disputed words, an angel would occasionally stir the water and the first person in the water would be healed. Some have raised theological objections to this. For instance, this seems to contradict the normal biblical approach to miracles. It also seems unfair for God to make a contest out of healing. However, it seems that the words of John 5:4 were not part of the original manuscript. Most likely, a marginal note put in as an explanation for the pool was inadvertently moved into the main body and became part of future copies. Ultimately, this is a theologically minor point. However, it is an excellent example of a typical manuscript variant, non-controversial, relatively unimportant, and well understood. So, all I'm saying, guys, is if you have not read the Bible, you need to read the Bible. It's very important. And there might be some differences between the various texts, but it's still the truth. It is still what is going to change your life. Just remember this. A lot of the versions, some of the more modern versions, have removed the blood of Christ specifically. And I want to tell you that that is very, very important. And that's why you'll still find a number of Christians that when they pray or when they are praying for something, they plead the blood of Jesus over that item because the blood covers all of our sins and inequities. If you are not planning on going to church this week, I'd like you to alter that plan. Now
This is written in 91 AD. At the same time, there appeared in Judea an extraordinary person called Jesus, if it be lawful to call him a man. He was a famous worker of miracles, a teacher of those who were desirous of receiving the truth in simplicity, and brought over to him many disciples, both Jews and Gentiles. This was the Christ, whom Pilate, as the accusation of the princes and the great men of the nation, delivered up to the ignominious punishment of the cross, notwithstanding which those who first loved him did not forsake him. He appeared to them alive again the third day after his crucifixion, with numberless other wonders concerning him. And thence to this day there is a set of people who bear the name of Christian, as owning him for their head, Lord, and Master. My.
Well, you probably know we've had relatively few female astronauts, and this is perhaps the reason. First woman on the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.
What?
Nothing.
What's the problem?
Never mind.
Please tell us the problem.
I'm fine.
So that's probably the best reason why we haven't put a woman on the moon yet. But here's another one.
Still kisses his wife before he goes to work. Why don't you do that?
Why would I kiss his wife before I go to work? I don't even know her.
That's going to do it for me on the Saturday show. Thank you guys for being part of the show. Love Beaumont. It's a great place to live. AM 1300 right here in Beaumont. Tell all of your friends. And also, please go to my Rumble channel, Doc Greene on Rumble. It's easy to find. Subscribe to it right there. We appreciate it. Or if you prefer, Doc Greene on YouTube, but I can't put everything there. on YouTube. Meanwhile, God willing, I'm going to see you Monday and say Merry Christmas to everyone you meet.